Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to That Amazon Ads Podcast, your go-to resource for everything Amazon ads. From sponsored products and sponsored brands to sponsor display and DSP, we cover it all with in-depth strategies and tactical insights to help you grow your Amazon ad sales. Now, today we have a very special episode, one that I am very much looking forward to. Ever since we booked it up, I've been super excited, looking forward to it. This is going to be our second debate. But this time we're going to do things a little bit differently. For today's debate, rather than bring in two outside guests, we're going to have our very own Stephen Noch dipping his toe into the debate pool. He signed up to debate whether click-through rate or conversion rate is more important in your advertising optimizations. And his debate opponent has signed up. And you've probably heard of this guy. Some call him their Amazon guy. I'm pretty sure he was on Amazon before Jeff Bezos. And he's a big deal. He's the man. He's that LinkedIn Lambo guy. He's the one and only Stephen Pope. Great to have you here.
Wow. I don't know what to do with that intro. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The man, the myth, the legend. We're very excited to have you on, Stephen.
Well, I look forward to it. Can we debate the proper spelling of Stephen first?
Ooh.
With a V.
Ooh,
boom.
Man.
Cheap shot right at the start of the first round.
You know, you probably get more people typing your name correctly than I get more people defaulting with the V version. Yeah.
I bet I do.
I always think it's funny though when my name is in the signature and like in my email address that people still they type in.
Well, just imagine half the world's population is less detailed than the average.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks so much for that, Stephen. Hey, why don't you give us a quick 60-second intro? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, kind of how you got your start in this space, and just give us a little intro to you.
I've been selling on Amazon for about 11 years, seven-figure seller. I also own an agency that grosses $20 million a year called My Amazon Guy. We have over 400 brands we work with, 400 employees. We're a full-service agency, PPC, SEO, design, catalog work, but as you mentioned, I don't think people really care who I am. They just care about what I talk about. So I'm happy to dive straight on in.
Yeah, that's great. Let's definitely do that. I know you signed up here to talk about click-through rate and kind of defend the side of click-through rate and, just how important that can be in making advertising optimizations or just within an Amazon business as a whole. So would love to just kind of give you the opportunity, give you the floor to give your opening statement and make your case for the defensive.
Opening statement.
Right.
Oh my
hey,
gosh.
this is serious. Hey, this is number 2, so we are primed and ready for debates going forward. So give it your best shot.
Well, this brings me back to my days when I was doing collegiate debate at Weber State. I beat Harvard's B team in a big national tournament, so hopefully I don't have to win the same way I beat them, though.
What style of debate were you doing?
I was doing policy debate. They didn't read their plan text because I took it ahead of the round, and then they didn't read it, so I said I win, and I did.
There you go.
So.
Very good. Yeah, technicalities. I did a parliamentary debate in high school. Yeah. I did parliamentary, and I tried to get into Lincoln Douglas, but they wouldn't let me.
So I'll preface the opening statement by saying I don't believe debate changes anybody's minds, right?
Sure.
Like there could be a winner of a debate, but in terms of the true art of persuasion, that is a very, very different topic. And if I went back to school right now, I would go back for persuasion. But here is why CTR is way more important to focus on in 2023 than conversion. Simply put, most people are ignoring it, and investing in CTR, click-through rate, is going to pay way bigger dividends. It's going to take less time to build out a higher CTR, and it's going to have a bigger impact. One change to your main image will have a bigger impact on your business today than anything else you can do in less than an hour of time. The only exception to this might be PPC. But the great thing about today's debate is that it's not about PPC. You can talk about how CTR and conversion elements are influenced and how they impact PPC. But that's going to be a very different flavor for our conversation today. CTR will benefit you in the following ways. It's going to help your search engine optimization because when you get more clicks, you're going to rank higher. It's also going to help your ACoS go down because Amazon rewards your PPC clicks when your CTR is higher, and they'll cost less on your click. So if your normal click is $1, but your CTR is 1 point, 2 points, maybe even 3 points higher than your competitor, you might only win that bid at 97 cents, 95 cents, and goes on from there. And the reason for that is because Amazon really cares deeply about that consumer. There's a lot of ways that you can improve CTR, and I'm sure we'll go into that today. But suffice it to say, if you give customers what they want, it's going to pay dividends. And conversion, super important concept. But the killing blow to start my opening statement is when you focus on CTR, it also helps conversion rate. And there's no way you're not going to be able to argue out of that one.
Yeah, a lot of good points there.
Pretty strong.
A lot of good points there to start off. Steven, do you want to take a stab at your opening statement to defend conversion rate?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we can both agree that both CTR and CVR are important. No one's going to say that either one is not important. However, my kind of perspective and where I'm coming from is, especially as the Amazon space becomes increasingly competitive, a lot of sellers are seeing that 50-60% of their total sales are coming from media. So paid advertising is contributing over half of all total sales. What's that? Why are you pointing at yourself?
My account, we were talking about this very topic today.
Okay, yeah.
Half my sales come from PPC.
Yep. So that's happening as Amazon, increases the number of paid placements on search, as more competitors are coming in and advertising. And that being the case, the overall profitability of a business is going to be heavily dependent on conversion rate because you're paying for a lot of that traffic. So if 50%, 60% of all sales are coming from media, then in a lot of cases, even more of the traffic will be coming from media, especially if you're doing a lot of upper funnel targeting. You're going to have a lot more of that traffic coming through paid search or paid display or whatever you're running. And so for that reason, managing that conversion rate, because you're paying for all of that traffic, is going to be the key difference between having a profitable business versus potentially having a bankrupt business. Because nobody cares if you get, 10 times the amount of traffic as your competitors, even if you get twice as many sales as all your competitors. If you're paying, 100% ACoS for all of that, you're not going to be a profitable business. So yes, both are important. We certainly want to, keep a close eye on click-through rate. And I think what we'll certainly agree on is optimizing that first leading image. Because as you rightly said, Stephen, that increasing that click-through rate is also going to have that trickle-down effect and also increase your conversion rate. But I would certainly take the stance that conversion rate should have priority over click-through rate. And I noticed you did a debate tactic where you were saying this is not about PPC, but I would like to keep some special attention to the PPC and how that's going to influence everything, given the fact that over 50 to 60% of sales are coming from paid media.
So where do we go from here, Andrew? Do I get to cross-examine him?
Yeah, we can go wherever you want to go, Stephen, and you guys can just riff back and forth and speak to some of maybe Stephen's points that he brought up and maybe solidify some of your own. However you want to approach it. This is a free-flowing conversation, so feel free to just kind of go at each other from here.
Yeah, no structure moving
That's
forward.
Right.
No structure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No rounds. Got it. No time limits. Gloves are coming off. All right. So in the search query performance report, there's what I like to call the ICAP marketing funnel. Mm-hmm. ICAP: impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases. Now, for you to argue that conversion is more important than CTR, you are defending only purchases. And for me to claim CTR is more important than conversion, I am defending both impressions and clicks. Why? Because you get more impressions when your click-through rate's higher. So for that reason, I've got 2 of the 4 of the ICAP up on you. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, click-through rates, impressions over clicks. So you're counting 2 metrics. I could say conversion rates is orders over clicks. So I'm counting 2 metrics there, where we still are looking at clicks in the conversion rate metric. And I do think that both of those metrics are going to play important roles algorithmically. Now, I mean, I don't know. Amazon's algorithm is a bit of a black box, but I would venture to say that conversion rate is a little bit more important for things like keyword ranking, right? If you've got two different products and one's got a 2% click-through rate and the other's got a 1% click-through rate, but the one with the lower click-through rate has a 20% conversion rate compared to the other's 10%, I think Amazon would.
Do you sell any 20% conversion items?
I do, yeah. I mean, I don't.
What category are we talking? What category?
I've got multiple accounts that average in non-brand search 20% conversion rates. Now they have extremely strong products. They've been in business for several years. Their products are in competitive spaces, but they've got tens of thousands of reviews with like 4.5 stars to 5 stars. So those conversion rates are certainly not the norm, but for some businesses, it's not uncommon.
So if we look at where somebody's current click-through and conversion is at, and it can be somewhat of a chicken and egg question in some instances, and I think we both agree with that. But for somebody who's just starting, they don't even have 20 units in sales yet, which of the two is more important?
Oh man, that's a really good question, and I'll give some anecdotes, and I'll try to give as many anecdotes as I can along the way. One of the brands I'm working with, they just launched a brand new product, and the product itself has essentially no competition because it is an invention of its own. So it's a new invention. Nobody really knows that it exists, but we're searching, or the main keywords that we're going for are people who are looking within a certain category. So they're looking for whatever the category is, accessories, and they find our product. We have very eye-catching images, and we're getting a ton of clicks. The click-through rates are the highest on this new product than our account average. I mean, I think overall the total ad performance is around a 0.4% click-through rate, and these products are averaging a 1 to 2% click-through rate. Remarkably high. However, the conversion rates are so low because they're new products with not a ton of reviews that we are losing a ton of money. We're running at like a 200% ACoS on them, which we're okay with because we're investing in the product and everything. But yeah, it's very difficult. Like if we could get that conversion rate. So
you're saying conversion rate is more difficult than CTR? Did I hear that right?
I'm saying it's the low conversion rate is making this, at least at this stage, not profitable. So even though we have a really high click-through rate and we're driving a ton of traffic, we're paying for all that traffic and we're not getting sales. And so we're losing money on the product.
So when you first launched in the first week, you had a high CTR?
I don't recall we've been at it for a few months. I think the CTR was pretty high out the gate, but I don't know if it was within the very first week.
How long did it take you to get conversion rate improved?
Conversion rate has been stagnant. There have been unfortunately, some negative reviews that came as a fault of not having clear user instructions. So, I mean, that's something we got to fix up there.
So if it takes longer to focus on conversion than it does CTR, why should people focus on conversion knowing it takes months?
Yeah. So the reason where I would say conversion and the way in which we prioritize it, and again, I'm taking this primarily from an advertising perspective. It is, after all, that Amazon Ads podcast, where we try to really specialize on our knowledge in advertising. But I would optimize when we're going into like keyword selection and determining our bids and all these types of things. I would certainly prioritize putting more spend behind where the conversion rates are highest in terms of our. So here's a good example, actually. If you have a specific keyword and maybe you're bidding $1, and the conversion rate's really high and the click-through rate's really low, I would continue to invest more spend there. I don't think getting more impressions on a keyword where your click-through rate is lower is going to negatively impact your product's overall performance. And on the inverse side of that, if I've got another keyword with extremely high click-through rate, but a really low conversion rate, and we're not profitable on that keyword, I'm not going to increase that bid. I'm going to be reducing the bid on that keyword because I'm optimizing towards where the conversion rates are the highest and trying to maximize impressions where the conversion rates are the highest.
So I went on the attack out the gate here, and I'm going to turn it over to you to attack my side next. But just to kind of close out this segment, what I heard from you is conversion rate is harder than CTR, and it takes more resources to improve conversion rate. Did I get any of that wrong?
You are a debater, Stephen.
Really setting him up there.
All right, your turn.
All right. So you know what would be fun is we should have little ringing bells between little segments to make it sound like we're concluding round one. So let's get a little ringing bell in here.
Post-op Mike Tyson sound bells. All right. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Here we go.
All right, Mr. Pope, throwing things back at you. Here's the biggest thing, and this is this is my hot take that you're gonna probably get a kick out of. But I tend to think, and actually, before I get there, let me ask you: when you are looking at click-through rate and analyzing click-through rate, where are you going to determine that? What if you're trying to see if click-through rates are improving or falling over time? What kind of dashboard are you using to manage that click-through rate?
So I'm going to share my screen for this one. This is the Search Query Performance Report. I like to dub it the ICAP marketing funnel: impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases. And in here, we could look at a variety of information down to the keyword level. We can look at the brand level down to the ASIN. And so these 4 segments, this impression column. So if we just take a random word, and in fact, let me go over to my case study here. Let's see, where did I put that? Not that one. All right, don't have the case study in front of me right this second. So I had sage candles for cleansing house, and I had a CTR of like 3% and a conversion rate of like 15%. So it was converting. I was like, what the heck? I don't even sell that. All right, so if we go over to this and type in sage candles for cleansing house, and in here, you see mostly candles on the screen, right? Well, what I found is that my product right here, and you can see my ads popped up, was outperforming. And so what I ended up doing is I emphasized the term in every potential placement that I could. And I ended up increasing my CTR, increasing my conversion rate, and all of that. And so what you can do in the Search Query Performance Report is come in here and laser focus and then say, hey, like, man, there's a particular keyword in here. So if we go down this list, there's a lot of random words in here, but hey, there's one in Spanish right there. If I really wanted to focus on Spanish, this is a search term volume of 1,500. I've got a brand share of 6% of the impressions. And when I'm seen, I get 1 out of 2 clicks. But overall, I have a 1 out of 4 clicks go to my brand for that particular term. And so I've dedicated content around that. And 1 out of 4 people purchase my product when they start on that term. So this is a great report that I think is valuable for both PPC and SEO, both CTR and conversion, because you can come and see how you stack up against the competition.
So you're not able to see things at like an overall account level unless if you're downloading this whole report and like summing all the impressions, is that what you're doing? Are you summing all the impressions and summing all the clicks across this entire dashboard?
Well, I mean, you could do that, but I think a lot of times if you think about like how much time an Amazon seller has, there's 1,000 things that a seller can do at any given time. In reality, there's only really 2 or 3 things they should focus on a daily basis. And, PPC is going to make that list. Logistics and stocking is going to make that list. But after you get those 2 core things done, what else should a seller be working on? And I would argue keywords. And come in here and try and laser focus in on where they can get the highest return for the least amount of effort. And that's where I think CTR comes into play, because when you see something have a high percentage of impressions and a lower percentage proportional on clicks, you have a low CTR problem for that keyword. You're overspending on PPC and you need to focus more on CTR. Conversely, let's say you have a high CTR. Let's see if we can find an example here, right? So let's take the term, it's a branded term. Let's see if we can find one where I'm higher on clicks and lower on the purchases. And so if we find one of those, and I'm actually striking out, like every single one of these, I have a higher conversion rate than I have CTR. And all right, here's one, Batman. So I have a 2% share of all clicks for the term Batman, which is kind of cool, right? Like, 24,000 people a month looking for that, clicking on
selling
that.
Batman candles?
Well, in this case, I switched products over to, I've got it. So one of my biggest problems, I have like 300 SKUs on my brand. So just for a quick sanity check here. So I sell soaps. I've got, artisan soaps I sell. Age of Sage brand. I'm going to give that to my 4-year-old daughter, Sage. I've got Sage sticks. I've got tumblers with all kinds of cool stuff. Roses. I also have other brands like Holstit selling gun slinging stuff, holsters, and target stands, and a lot of cool stuff like that. So because of that, when you look at my data, it's all over the place. You're like, what the frick? I've got soap and Batman and everything in between, right? But in any case, just to finish that anecdote out, when you have a lower percentage on purchases than you do on the click, you know you have a conversion problem and you need to focus on that and go in there and clean that up. So there's a lot of ways you can improve conversion, but you have to do so many different things, right? If we go to a particular listing, so I'll go back to my store, I'll click on one of my best sellers. So this is one of my best sellers, masculine soap set. And I'll just ask you guys, like, where would you focus if you were trying to improve the conversion rate on this page, knowing that I've already got my brand story up, I've already got A+ content up? Is there anything that you guys would start with to improve conversion here?
Yeah. So couple of things. Number one, a few of the issues that I'm seeing there are the search query performance dashboard. That's showing your overall brand's performance. It's not breaking it down individually by product. So I don't think it's going to allow you to actually optimize your campaigns using those metrics. If you're seeing that, like, if you've got 10 different products.
View right here. All right, so we're gonna focus in on the soap. ASIN view, monthly data, July 2023. Boom. All right.
Yeah. So if you're trying to look at like your overall product's click-through rate, I mean, I think it's extremely difficult, first of all, to try to, do, I don't know. I mean, if you've got 100 SKUs, trying to do 100 separate exports of all these metrics, rather than in the campaign manager, you can very easily see like you can just filter for a certain campaign or certain product and see all your click-through rates, or get an advertised product report to see the product itself's individual performance. But the other thing is, I think, and this is especially true when it comes to advertising, that a big part of click-through rate is, I think it can be quite a bit of a vanity metric, because you can see your click-through rate plummet on a specific keyword or on a specific product or on an account, or at the account level. You can see that click-through rate plummet, and that might have absolutely nothing to do with the product listing itself. What that actually has to do with is where those impressions are happening. So there's 3 different placements with sponsored products and also sponsored brands, but your ad can appear at top of search, on rest of search, or on product pages. And we see that the click-through rate on top of search is usually 100 times higher than it is on product pages. But the number of impressions is vastly different as well. On top of search, there's only going to be 2, 3, 4 possible impressions. Whereas on product pages, you can have hundreds of impressions because you've got sponsored products all over the place. You've got carousels that people can scroll through. The impressions that Amazon's counting probably aren't even only the viewable impressions. It's probably all possible impressions. So all of that, if you're doing clicks divided by impressions, and that denominator is impressions, and if you have an overflow of impressions on product pages, or we especially see this even during like Prime Day, where people are in more of like a shoppy mode, where they're clicking around on more product pages, they're loading way more impressions. And so you're going to have that denominator is going to blow up, and it's going to look like your click-through rate's dropping. And if you only start optimizing towards the products that were like maybe not getting any product page impressions, and you're only focusing on going to where the click-through rates are highest in terms of how you're optimizing your bids, you're going to be leaving a lot of impressions on the table. So even going back to your ICAP, I think it's not only important to make sure you're increasing your click-through rate, but also increasing your total impressions. But increasing your total impressions is going to happen through determining where your bids are, determining how your placements are happening, and trying to maximize your total visibility to fill that whole top of the funnel. But where the click-through rate, when you're considering the different placements, a certain product could have a really low click-through rate, and it's not because the first image is bad. It's just because maybe it hasn't gotten any of the placements up at top of search. And so when you start talking about SEO and making sure those keywords are in there, that's all super important as well. I think everyone would agree that SEO is important because that's going to go into ranking and all that. But that SEO is I think a separate topic in terms of, that ranking is going to play into, ranking and SEO, I think is a slightly different conversation than how we're optimizing towards either click-through rate or conversion rates.
Well, first of all, inside of the Search Query Performance Report, when we look at the ICAP marketing funnel, you can see the difference between an impression generically available total versus when you are seeing your percentage of the clicks. So they actually do break that down, and I do think they delineate that very well. But at the end of the day, an image that is better optimized, your main image, right? So when we talk about CTR, there's only like 6 or 7 elements that can affect CTR. Main image is number one, and that's really kind of where I've been focusing mostly so far in our conversation. There's title, there's price, there's reviews. Almost all of these elements are mutually shared between CTR and conversion. And so I'm going to pocket myself directly on main image as a focal point for most of the conversation. And the reason for that is reviews take time. Everybody's already optimized their titles and a lot of information that goes down that pipe. But when we look at main images, a lot of major brands have done what I've talked about. We've showcased this a bunch in our own content on LinkedIn and on YouTube, where we talk about HP and Colgate and Unilever and all these different products and brands are putting in keywords into their main image. They're putting in accessories into their main image. They're putting features and starbursts and pack sizes and accessories. And what we're seeing is it makes a massive difference. So I'll say this. I did a coaching call with a gentleman, and I showed him how to improve his main image. I get an email from him 30 days later, and he says, guess what, Steven? My clicks went up 60,000 clicks on his product. And his conversion rate was static, by the way, but 60,000 extra clicks from a 1-hour coaching call with me. That dude made an extra $37,000 from one phone call per month, amortize that over a year, times that by 12, and you get the idea, right? And so that's how simple it is to improve CTR by focusing on the main image, adding additional value and features, give the consumer a reason to click on it. And I'll give a visual example here and then turn it back over. So on the left here, this is my favorite example. On the left here, we have a yellow journal. And if I poll the audience, I was like, why would you click on this? And almost always, 9 out of 10 times, people are like, because it's yellow. Then you ask the same question about the second image, and I get lots of different answers. And Steven, I'm just kind of curious, what are the first things that kind of pop out for you? Why would you click on the second version of this image?
Yeah, clearly, it shows the age. So if someone was searching specifically for ages 6 to 12, then they see that's going to be very eye-catching and show that it's highly relevant.
So age is showcased. We show inside of the journal. We also increase the pixel sizes of the product so it appeared bigger. We put a keyword on there so people understood it was a continuation journal specifically for kids. And we went back and forth and A/B tested this photo 3 or 4 times. And after we did that, the sales tripled, and both the CTR and the conversion went up by 3x. This listing, by the way, didn't even have A+ content, didn't have brand story, didn't optimize the bullet points. The image stack was also still garbage.
Yeah.
And so image change.
I'm going to jump in there real quick, Steven. So I think we agree that having a strong main image is important and essential, really, and is going to improve both click-through rate and conversion rate. But if you're saying that click-through rate's more important than conversion rate, and because you said both click-through rate and conversion rate increased, but if only click-through rate increased and conversion rate did not increase, depending on what the actual conversion rate and average order value is, if that product already in advertising wasn't profitable, let's just say it was locked in at like it was losing money on the ads, and if you just double, triple, quadruple your click-through rate, you're now doubling, tripling, quadrupling the rate of your losses of sales. So
not true. That's definitely not true. Let's break that down.
Sure.
I'll explain why. Okay, so if my conversion rate remains static and my clicks go up, I'm making a hell of a lot more money.
Assuming you were already profitable to begin with.
You're also assuming that all of those clicks only came from PPC, right? And so they don't. They come from both, right? So when you help out CTR, you're not just helping one segment of your business. You're helping the full picture. It helps people get to the arrive. And so let me break it down even further. So it's going to help them find your product. It's going to help them arrive at your product, i.e. click on it. And then because they liked what they saw in the search result, they're more likely to add it to the cart because it was what they were looking for, right? I was looking for a kid's journal for age 6-year-old. Well, on the first one, when I still land on the listing, I'm not even sure I'm looking at the right product. I'm out. That is if I even landed there to begin with. and then finally the purchase, right? So if you look at the new tailored brand promotions that everybody's been hyping right now, there's thousands of people that are abandoning their cart, right? This is the conversion element, the anxiety reduction, the friction issues that people have. Why do so many people leave it in their cart and not make that purchase? It's crazy high, which is why, since Amazon's, I think we can both agree on this, Amazon has run out of space to throw promotions and ads. So now they're creating new ones, right? And part of the way they're doing that is by doing abandoned cart, retargeting, lookalikes, and all that fun jazz that Google has done for 15 or so years. And now you can add a discount, 10%, come back and make that purchase. And so might seem like small numbers, but I'm making an extra $247 a day by giving a 10% off for anybody that abandons Age of Sage. Times that by 365, and you get the idea of the top line growth coming from that promotion. So I agree. If you're not profitable and you're wasting ad dollars right now, and then you triple your CTR, and you're still losing the same amount of PPC, that would be a problem. However, I think you're not taking into account that Amazon's going to reduce your PPC costs, and your conversion rate is inevitably going to go up because it's what the consumer was looking for. When you find the right consumer at the right time for the right price, they're going to make the right purchase for them.
So let me ask you this, Steve. If you've got some keywords and products with extremely low click-through rates, let's just say, and you're going through your ad account and you're seeing you've got some keywords with extremely low click-through rates, and maybe the click-through rates are really low because they're, I don't know, maybe they're upper funnel or whatever. Maybe you're not bidding enough to get better placements. Is that something? And you've already done all the optimizations that you can, right? Because again, I think we agree that main image, product listing optimization, SEO, all of that's super important. But in terms of where you're going to put your ad dollars, where you're going to put that investment, are you saying that you would rather put that behind the keywords with higher click-through rates and you would maybe decrease on that other keyword that has a low click-through rate?
I don't know how to answer that question, to be truthfully honest. But what I would say this is it's simply easier to fix or improve the CTR than it is to improve or fix conversion. And so in a black box, if you try and make this binary and say, where should I spend my money on high click items with low conversion or low click items and high conversion, I think you're going to win that debate. Of course, you'd want to put it on the higher conversion one because you're only paying for the clicks when you get it. But it's not binary because it's Amazon.com, right? And so as an advertising specialist or whoever's running the PPC, you're going to have diminishing returns in that world. There's no way you're going to be able to keep growing that account if you just up the bid and up the campaign budget for those low click, high converting items. At some point, it taps out, and probably within like 2 weeks. Right? So the argument then becomes who and why and where should I spend my time? So you have to go in and focus on improving CTR because that inevitably improves all of the PPC campaigns for that route, and especially on the campaigns where you have a laser focus on a particular keyword, right? If you put that any keyword, any product, you put the keyword onto the product on the main image, your CTR and conversion rate go up. And so what I'm saying is it's not as binary as just saying where I'm going to put my money in the current PPC and I have no control on anything else. It's way more complex. There's more ships rising in port together when it all ties together.
So let me ask you this then. When it comes to managing bids, I know you've got a massive team. You've got, I think, 300 employees? What's it at now?
We just passed over 400.
Nice. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So when it comes to managing bids in your ad accounts, I'm not sure what the protocol is for your team. Do you have people using bulk files? Are you using automation? Is it rule-based automation or is it kind of third-party logic?
So we're going to use bulk sheets and macros. We
Cool.
think that a pilot still outperforms AI. And I won't rehash your AI versus manual labor debate, but suffice it to say, the way that I settle that debate is by saying AI F's up too many things. Now, humans also F up things, but not at the proportion or the scale that AI messes up campaigns.
At least you know who to fire if a human messes things up.
Yeah, there's that too. But Labor Day comes around and then all of a sudden your bids go up 500% because you're using AI.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what the frick? Like how many Labor Days have there been since AI came out? Anyway, That's a debate. You've already had that debate.
So let me follow up with...
So reel me back in.
Yeah. So is click-through rate one of the variables or metrics that is kind of being incorporated into your bids for determining your keywords bids?
Oh, that is a great question. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think we focus on CTR as part of our bidding methodology. If we look at the equation, what we're looking at is, do we want to increase impressions or do we want to lower A costs? And I think that's kind of the choose your own adventure. And if we want to increase impressions, we're going to raise the bid 99 out of 100 times. And if we want to lower the A costs, we're going to lower the bid 99 out of 100 times. And so when we make the macros to get that sort of delineation, you get the outcome. I don't know how you would optimize for CTR. Like,
right.
Can you think of a scenario of where you would change your bids based on CTR?
Well, I see a lot of people advocating for this product has a really high click-through rate, so we're going to increase the bid there to drive more impressions or traffic on this higher click-through rate keyword. And that's where I would say you're making a mistake. And to be transparent, that's actually
the rest of the metrics already give you that same outcome though.
How do you mean?
Well, like, okay, so let's say I have a 35% ACOS and I want to get more impressions. By the way, I have a new puppy who I'm potty training right now, and he just came in. So here's your prize for today. Here's your debate win.
That is a cutie.
This is Loki. He is a Vizsla.
Oh man!
And now
I love Vizslas.
Nipping at my heels here. So if you hear him bark,
stole the show.
Why. We'll see if he can not.
Yeah, all of our audio listeners are now absolutely running to the YouTube channel.
This was going to be my get out of the hard question segment where I pull out the dog. But I guess going back to what we were talking about, I don't think you have to optimize to CTR because I think
you're saying 35% ACOS and
all of the other metrics still give you the signals to make the same outcome, right? Like I'm a big advocate for optimizing based on bid, not based on budget, and down to the keyword level. And if that's the case, and if that's the case, then you just have to look at whether you're getting the conversion. This is where you're going to win the debate, right? You're going to look at whether I can convert enough people based on the click, and then optimize the PPC from there. And I think you win that on a PPC binary level. But my overarching argument that trumps that is that if you only have an hour today, Mr. FBA business owner, should you spend it and where should you spend it? And my belief is go fix your main image, right? You would have more dollars coming into your business by fixing the main image than spending an extra hour running the same macros that you've been running on your account for the last year.
Well, this might be a bit unfortunate, Stephen, but I think we agree on this. and I think perhaps we were approaching this from two different angles, because I think what I've seen, I think the mistake that I've seen people make is in their PPC specifically, they're advocating for increasing bids where click-through rate is higher and decreasing bids where click-through rate is lower, which I think is a grave mistake, or even negating keywords with a low click-through rate. Absolute horrible mistake. If you have a keyword with a low click-through rate and you just negate it when that was driving sales at a good ACOS, it's a foolish mistake. And that low click-through rate could just be because, again, maybe you just got 10 times the amount of impressions on product pages where click-through rates are 99% lower compared to top of search, So those placements can be influencing what those click-through rates are actually doing. So I do think I think that's kind of where we were taking two different approaches. I was thinking more like, how are you optimizing the advertising account based off of these data feeds? You're seeing click-through rates on one column, you're seeing conversion rates on another column, and 10 times out of 10, I'm going to be focusing on what the conversion rates are doing in terms of determining how I'm putting more spend in, where I'm allocating, how I'm adjusting these bids and everything like that. And I think your approach is more around the product listing optimization side of things and SEO.
Well, now that I've won the debate, no, just kidding. Can we talk about how bad some negation strategies are? Can we have a segment on that?
Yeah, let's ring the bell again.
I cannot believe how many people negate good keywords. This blows my mind. I'm just like, how in the world do you make an auto or a broad match campaign and then negate the wards that were working on that campaign and then segment them over to a higher bid exact match campaign and wonder why my ACOS is going up. Like, who does this?
Yeah.
I can't believe how many people don't add negations on a weekly basis to their broad match and auto campaigns for bad keywords. That, and you go in there and you look at the words where you got 20 clicks, 30 clicks, whatever your basis for number is, but they forget to come in and add negations. Why do they do that? Waste of ACOS.
Yeah. Well, Steven, I want to bring it back because I have one more question / food for thought just to kind of see what you think about this. But going back to what I was saying just a minute ago with, when it comes to managing an advertising account, are you trying to optimize towards click-through rate or conversion rate? One thing that I think is on a CPM model, so for people who are running sponsored display or DSP and they are paying for impressions, there I would say click-through rate is much more valuable, especially if your goal, and to kind of go back to that, the ICAP is a little bit of a funnel of itself, right? But if we think about not necessarily like the ICAP funnel, but we think of the customer journey, and maybe you're in a niche where the average customer consideration window is maybe 7 days, 14 days. So that sale doesn't always happen on the same day. And so it'll take some time to first build some awareness, let people know who you are, know of your brand, bring them down the funnel into the consideration phase. You're getting them to check out your product pages, your store, and ultimately conversion. To get people from that awareness to consideration phase, obviously click-through rates are going to be very important there, where you're not necessarily expecting the sale just yet. You're just trying to build that consideration portion of the funnel. And I think that makes a ton of sense on those CPM models where you're actually paying for the 1,000 impressions.
And it seems like Amazon's heading that direction, right? Like we're seeing a lot more CPM models come out.
Yeah. Certainly as they start trying to give advertisers more of that capability of targeting audiences and reaching up the funnel in that sense. But when it comes to things like sponsored brands and sponsored products that are not pay per 1,000 impressions, frankly, I think sponsored brands are a great awareness play because people will pay a ton of money on Facebook, Google Ads, even Amazon DSP. People pay a ton of money for those banners, those impressions, because they know they're planting seeds. Even if people don't click on the ad, they're kind of planting a subliminal seed in the person's conscience that's going to get them to now be familiar with the brand. So next time they're running through search and they see a brand in search that they're like, oh, I've heard of that brand before. They assume it has a good reputation or whatever. Point being, when it comes to sponsored brand ads, if that's your goal is building that awareness, letting people know that you exist, but you're not necessarily expecting the sale yet, I actually hope for a lower click-through rate because those are free impressions, right? If I could get 1 million impressions at top of search with a sponsored brand ad and nobody clicked it, that would be a free million impressions that would typically, I would be seeing a $10, $15 CPM on that. Now, obviously, I mean, that's a hyperbole. If your click-through rate's that bad, Amazon's probably not going to award you that placement. But my point here being is that for cost per impression models, I would go towards CTR being more important. But where 80 to 90% of anyone's media spend is going is on search, the pay per click model. And because you're paying for each click, you have to make sure that those clicks are profitable, and conversion rate is going to determine the profitability of that keyword.
So I agree with most of what you're saying, but I would also argue that if you increase your CTR, you will become more profitable because every PPC sale you generate gets 3 SEO sales over 6 months. And so if you generate a PPC sale that you wouldn't have generated previously,
sure,
that's 3 more SEO sales on the bandwagon coming along. So profitability can be very easy to come by if you are investing in both PPC and SEO. All ships rise together to raise your product.
Yep, that makes sense. Now let me ask you this though, and I'm going to use ridiculous numbers for easy mental math. Would you rather have 1 million impressions with 100% click-through rate or 10 million impressions with only a 50% click-through rate?
Gosh, that's like asking whether I'd rather fight a horse-sized duck or or 100 duck-sized horses.
Yeah.
That's that. It's difficult to know for sure which of those two is going to play out better. I'm going to go with the classic PPC answer. It depends.
Yeah, there you go. So really, I'm surprised. I thought you were gonna between like 1 million impressions that are guaranteeing 1 million clicks versus the 10 million impressions where only half of those or 5 million are becoming clicks. I thought you would go with the latter.
It really depends, right? Like, are you going to be able to convert those? This is the setup straw man question.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's assume conversion rates stays the same for both of those.
I'm going to go for the option that makes me the best top line and bottom line. And is there a pathway to victory where I can work on both? I'm going to hedge that direction. Now, where I'm going to be forced to pick one over the other, if I'm in growth mode, I'm going to go with the top line option. I want to try and get more sales in the door and go for the top line. But eventually, everybody always teeters back over to profit, or they sell their company. But typically, it sells for more if it's got a higher profit anyway. So I think it just depends on where you're at as a business.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you where I would go. I would rather take the second half because it's net more clicks, net more traffic, right? And I think that's part of why you're trying to say click-through rate is so important, is because it's netting you out more traffic. But I think
sales.
And sales, yeah. And traffic and there go sales, or therefore sales. So, but what I'm trying to say is I would rather have a lower click-through rate that gets me net more total traffic, because that traffic is then going to, assuming conversion rate stays the same. So that's like a constant in this equation. I would rather have a lower click-through rate with more total clicks than a higher click-through rate and fewer total impressions and clicks.
I mean, this analogy is like saying, would I rather have a Super Bowl commercial that everybody sees but does nothing with it? Or would I rather have local TV ads that are way less in traffic or way less in impressions, but I know that they are going to generate clicks and get conversion? That's a really tough question, because some brands are going to want more of that general awareness splash to say, hey, I've been in the Super Bowl ad. And some brands are going to be more blue collar oriented. I just need business now. I'm focused on business in the door right this second. So really kind of a growth versus profit mentality. But if you guys think back a couple Super Bowls ago where they just had a freaking QR code going across the screen, I mean, that's the scenario where you win both, right? And so I always like to say, where can I navigate 6 parsecs Han Solo style and take the Millennium Falcon and find I want both, right? But at the end of the day, and I know that the framing of most of our conversation today was supposed to be PPC CTR versus PPC conversion, and I came prepared to talk about the whole nugget together. So we were 2 ships passing in the night on that one, arguably. But I still believe anytime you focus on CTR, you're going to help the entire full enchilada. And it's going to help conversion. It's going to lower your PPC costs. And it's going to be easier, 7 times easier to double your CTR and maintain conversion than to double your conversion rate and maintain your CTR. And so that's why I'm a CTR guy. And I think it's the most important metric to focus on in 2023.
Yeah, but you're also throwing in a lot of, you're talking about the improvement on conversion rate there. So I think you're still defending my arguments.
Well, if I'm right, if you focus on CTR and it improves conversion rate, therefore focusing on CTR is more important, because when you focus on just conversion rate and you don't focus on CTR, your net gains are significantly less.
I mean, I could say the same,
impressions and clicks.
But I think it could go both ways. If you focus on increasing conversion rate by doing the same steps as you described, making sure that main image is much better, your click-through rate will also go up.
Well, main image is mostly a CTR play, first of all. But if we take something like price, right? So if I don't change my advertising budget, let's say it's $10,000 a month and I have it exactly the same, and all I do is lower the price 50%, are my sales going to go up? Absolutely. Is my CTR going to go up? maybe not.
I would say absolutely.
Yeah, your conversion is going to go through the roof in comparison.
Yeah.
Right. So my point is, though, is that there's certain actions you can take to pull levers in either one of these. Why not pull the one that helps everything the most effectively?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're sharing a lot of good points there. Steven.
Andrew, I forgot you were here.
Yeah. I've just been soaking this in. Oh my gosh.
The referee's like, I'm not getting in the middle of that ring.
Duking it out so much. I think you had him pinned down at one point, and then he kind of scrambled and got back on top. So it's been a back and forth battle that we've had here during this debate. It's been full of value, full of great insights and new things for business owners and Amazon brands to take away and start implementing within their accounts today and see better results, better sales, better growth. So I think everybody got a lot of value from this, and we're super appreciative for Stephen Pope. We had to delineate between the two. Stephen Pope for coming on here today. I'm going to give you guys each one minute to make your closing statements, and then we'll wrap up here and send you on your way. So let's have you go first, Stephen Pope. Let's share your closing argument.
My closing argument is that Stephen and Andrew run a great company. They know what they're talking about. Their PPC strategies are sound. And if you're getting this far into the podcast, you already know all this, right? And so make sure you go out and tell somebody about the work that they're doing, because the content and the value that they are bringing right now and finding new avenues and ways to help you grow your business, do them a favor and go out and spread the gospel, right? Be a missionary for them and share this podcast with somebody else, right? I don't think either of us changed anybody's perspective on which is more important, CTR or conversion rate. That was all fun in the games, but at the end of the day, you need to take action, right? Go take one single action today, and I think that action you should take is on your business. Go improve your main image. And that's my closing statement. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And to you, Stephen.
Wow, Stephen, you used 50 seconds of your 60 seconds just making us blush with compliments. So thank you for that. And for me, I think the big takeaway is I will say that I will go back to my accounts and double check on our main images, because you did do a good job convincing me of the importance of that main image for driving net higher traffic and performance from both a click-through rate and a conversion rate perspective. So newfound focus there. Although when it comes to managing the ad account itself and optimizing, trying to maximize sales from your keyword selection and your bids, I don't really care if a keyword has a low click-through rate. As long as it's converting profitably, we're going to try to spend as much on that as we can, because each additional click is netting us another sale. So when it comes to my advertising account, click-through rate can be helpful for getting a general idea of how strong our main image is performing and how relevant we are to certain keywords. But most of the time, because of the click-through rate being heavily influenced by placements and actually where those impressions are happening and what type of traffic is going on, I tend to think that click-through rate in the ad console is a little bit of a vanity metric, and I do not include it in any of my optimizations, but I focus mainly on conversion rate.
Check out this girdle real quick. Before, after. Which of these two do you want to buy? Go focus on your main images.
Oh,
those are some good images.
Those are nice. I'd buy that griddle, maybe. Well, this has been great, guys.
Here's another. This one's even better. Okay. Cookie sheet with cookies, without cookies. Which do you want to buy? Which one are you going to rather click on? All right.
I agree. Main image is king.
Super important. Beautiful stuff, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Stephen. Real quick, where can people find you? Anything you want to promote? You want to call out your social channels? Anything like that you want to call out here?
So I just released this really cool free tool. It's myamazonguy.com/tip. I'll demo it real quick. And you guys can go there to see over 2,000 tips that I've given out. This one, I just landed the page, launch pricing strategy. Give me another tip. Do you, tell your brand story. Give another one here. PPC tips. Always run auto campaigns. Never negate good keywords, right? So if you guys want to check that out, myamazonguy.com/tip. graphic after graphic with available things you guys can go do on your business today.
Awesome. That'll be a great resource for the audience to go check out, learn all the insider tips and tricks that my Amazon guy uses to grow and scale Amazon brands day in and day out. Without further ado, though, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys both so much for joining in for another episode of That Amazon Ads Podcast. We will see you next time.